Hello, students. Let us continue the chapter we started yesterday, that is the interview. In our first part, we studied the different views of different celebrities and distinguished person regarding interview, okay, and the merits and demerits of it, clear, as a part of journalism, okay. Students, in this video, we shall begin with the recap of the facts we studied in the last part so that the learning can be a better one, okay, clear. And after that recap, we will certainly try to complete this chapter, the reading session of this chapter today. And by the end of this video, if possible, we will discuss the possible answers of the questions, especially the textual questions given in the book. Okay, clear? So, without wasting a single moment, uh, let us start this video with the recap of this chapter. Okay, to make the things clear to you, I have to go to the back of the screen. Okay, students, let's recap the facts we studied earlier. Students, the process of interview was invented 130 years ago, okay, since the publication of the book and the writer's views, particularly regarding the interviews, okay, and since then it has not looked back, okay. According to some journalists, they call interview, taking interview, a source of truth, source of the truth, okay, clear. After the invention of it, many celebrities and other distinguished persons of our society are interviewed or have been interviewed or are in a queue to be interviewed. Okay. Some of them liked to be interviewed, but others despised it as they called it an unwanted intrusion in their lives. Okay, there are so many celebrities who despised and hated being interviewed. Okay, and they called it an unwanted intrusion in their lives. Okay, you know, as a part of journalism, interview comprises the questions that are related to your work, your life, okay, and other factors of your life and success and achievements, okay. So they sometimes intrude in your, they even try to pry on you, they even try to know something more about your private life, okay. So this sometimes makes an interview or an interviewee uninterested during the process, okay. Lewis Carroll, the creator of Alice in Wonderland, okay, जिन्होंने Alice in Wonderland बनाया है, never consented to be interviewed. He never वो मुझसे कभी हाँ ही नहीं भरी इंटरव्यू देने के लिए. Rudyard Kipling condemned the interviewer, condemned the interviewer and interviews. Okay, he calls it immoral. He calls the process of taking interview an immoral one, unethical. Okay, even he called it a crime. Okay, and he proclaimed that no respectable person would ask for it, Okay, and much less give it. Okay, H.G. Wells, a non-fictional writer, uh, a sci-fi writer, I must say. Okay, the writer of The Invisible Man. Okay, he was also unhappy with this game of interview. Okay, and 40 years later, he himself interviewed Joseph Stalin. Okay, clear. So finally, we got to know the fact that interview in its best form provides us a complete information even for our contemporaries. Okay, clear. And interviewer always commands great power and influence over the interviewee. Okay, clear. Students, at every step, like joining an institution. Okay, okay, and joining any institution, college, organization, or before joining for any post, we have to face an interview. And there are so many people in the world who hate being interviewed. Okay, clear. So let us go through the second part of this chapter. Okay, I am a professor who writes novels on Sundays, says Umberto Eco. Okay, the following is an excerpt from an interview of Umberto Eco. Okay, the interviewer is Mukund Padmanabhan from The Hindu. Uh, okay, Umberto Eco, a professor at University of Bologna in Italy, had already acquired a formidable reputation as a scholar for his ideas on semiotics. Semiotics means the study of signs, signatures की जो study करते हैं उसको, and literary interpretation and medieval aesthetic before he turned to writing fiction. Students, the second part that we are discussing now is an excerpt. It is just a part that has been taken from an interview of Umberto Eco. Clear? The interviewer is Mukund Padmanabhan. Okay, Mukund Padmanabhan is taking the interview. Okay, he is from the Hindu. Okay, and the interviewee is Umberto Eco, a professor at the University of Bologna in Italy. Okay, and he had acquired uh, an undefamable reputation, a great reputation as a scholar or as a student. Okay, uh, for his ideas on semiotics, semiotics of, and the science of the study of science. Okay, as far as his literary interpretation is concerned, uh, he has done in his literary works. He has uh, done so many literary interpretation, and he has also expressed his thoughts and wrote many things on medieval aesthetic before he turned to write fiction. Okay, clear. Literary fiction, academic text, essays, children's book. Okay, newspaper articles. His written output is uh, staggeringly large and wide-ranging. Okay, if we talk about his literary works, so he has provided us a wide or variety of genre, literary fiction, like literary fictions, academic text, essays, and books on children's book. And even he has also published so many newspaper articles. Okay, clear. And they provide lots of varieties. In 1980, he acquired the equivalent of intellectual superstardom with the publication of The Name of the Rose, which sold more than 10 million copies. Okay, So in 1980, he acquired a great superstardom of being an intellectual writer when he published his book, The Name of the Rose. Okay, The Name of the Rose. Okay, and which sold more than 10 million copies. उसकी है ना 10 million copies भी की थी. So after this, after having uh, such a great such an intellectual superstardom, Mukund Padmanabhan, he went to have an interview with him. Okay, so let us go through the dialogues between Mukund Padmanabhan, okay, a reporter or reporter from the Hindu, and Umberto Eco, a prolific writer. Okay, Mukund Padmanabhan says, the English novelist and academic David Laws once remarked, I can't understand how one man can do all the things he stands for Eco does. So this is the way of asking questions by giving statements. Mukund Padmanabhan, in his clear words, he quoted the words of David Laws when he remarks that he could not understand how a man can do all the things simultaneously. Okay, कि इतनी सारी चीज़ें एक आदमी इतनी सारी चीज़ें कैसे कर सकता है. तो Umberto Eco then replies, may I give the impression of doing many things. Hmm? But in the end, I am convinced I am always doing the same thing. He said maybe perhaps he gave the impression of doing so many things to his readers, but at the end of the day he is convinced that he was doing the same thing. बोले मैं तो एक ही काम कर रहा हूँ, लोगों को लगता है, people think that he was doing so many things. So, which is, Mukund Padmanabhan asked, which is the same thing that he always does. So, Umberto Eco says, now that is more difficult to explain. I have some philosophical interests and I pursue them through my academic work and my novels. Even my books for children are about non-violence and peace. You see, the same bunch of ethical and philosophical interests. Okay, and then I have a secret. Did you know what will happen if you eliminate the empty spaces from the universe? Eliminate the empty spaces in all the atoms. The universe will become as big as my fist. Here, students, Umberto Eco is giving a good example of his tenacity, persistence, अपनी लगन, अपनी कार्यशीलता का वो बता रहा है कि although he found himself failed to explain how he could do so many things. Okay, he said he had some philosophical interest. Okay, and he even follow these interests through his academic work and his novels. Okay, even he called that his books for children are about non-violence and peace. Means he has chosen philosophical topics like non-violence, ahimsa, and peace, shanti, for children. Okay, and the same bunch of ethical philosophical interest using the same ethical moral obligations और philosophical interest को carry करते हुए he wrote that. ठीक है, and then he shared a secret that he asked the writer, what if we delete the empty spaces from the universe. Okay, he even asked the writer to eliminate the empty spaces and suggested if the empty spaces is eliminated in all the atoms, the universe will become as big as his fist. उसकी मुट्ठी के जितना उसके आज जितना उसकी फिस्ट के जितना एक वो पूरी यूनिवर्स बन जाएगी अगर एम्प्टी स्पेसेस को हटा देते हो हर एटम के बीच में से. Okay, similarly we have a lot of empty spaces in our lives. Here empty spaces stand for the leisure time, okay, the time we take rest and do uh, unuseful things, okay, clear. I call them interstices, and here the writer writer Umberto Eco calls them interstices. Okay, later you will get to know what interstices are. Say you are coming over to my place. You are in an elevator, and while you are coming up, I am waiting for you. This is an interstices, an empty space. You all are studying uh, maths and all that. uh, this is a line, these are the lines, both are the parallel lines, okay, and if we cross them, okay, so this is the thing that interstices them, cut them, okay, clear. So he said कि उसने कहा कि सपोज व्हेन ही वाज कमिंग अप स्टेयर्स थ्रू द एलिवेटर एक्सीलरेटर जो होता है ना, वो जो एलिवेटर होता है, जो लिफ्ट, जो सीढ़ियाँ चलती हैं, है ना, उस पर जब तुम ऊपर आ रहे थे, in that given empty space, in that empty time, I work in empty spaces while waiting for your elevator to come, while waiting for your lift to come up from the first to third floor. I have already written an article. कह रहा है कि इतने टाइम में, इतने टाइम से तेरी जो लिफ्ट, तुम्हारे जो लिफ्ट जो नीचे से फर्स्ट फ्लोर से थर्ड फ्लोर पर आई, तब तक तो मैंने एक आर्टिकल लिख दिया. इट मीन्स Umberto Eco always uses his empty spaces, the time that is unuseful, that is useless. Okay, so he uses that much time in a good way. Okay, and that is what you should do. Okay, do not try to waste even a single moment of your time. Okay, clear. Take the best use of it. Okay. Mukund asks another thing. Not everyone can do that, of course. Your non-fictional writing, your scholarly work has a certain playful and personal quality about it. Okay, it is a marked departure from a regular academic style, which is invariably depersonalized and often dry and boring. Have you consciously adopted an informal approach, or is it something that just came naturally to you? Here, Mukund Padmanabhan is trying to ask Eco about the playful quality in his scholarly work. Okay, he wondered if it was something that came naturally to him. Okay, um, Eco said that even he asked if he consciously adopted all an informal approach, or is it something, or uh, means the ideas that he adopted while writing any piece or any composition, uh, whether the ideas uh, came naturally to him. So let's read Eco's answer, reply. When I presented my first doctoral dissertation in Italy, one of the professors said scholars learn a lot of certain subjects, uh, and they they make a lot of false hypotheses. Okay, then they correct them, and at the end they put the conclusions. Okay, you on the contrary told the story of your research, even including your trials and errors. Okay, at the same time he recognized I was right and went on to publish my dissertation as a book, which meant he appreciated it. So Eco in his reply said that that at the age of 22 he understood how scholarly books should be written in an informal way. That was why his essay had a narrative aspect. Okay, clear. He said if once he submitted his dissertation to his professor, and the professor at first made fun of him, saying that there are so many scholars in the world who copy the dissertations, and then they make false hypothesis, okay, झूठी thesis वो लिख देते हैं, and then they correct at the end, clear, and then they put their conclusion. And he made fun of Eco, saying that he, on the other hand, told the story of his research, okay, in his thesis, and even he talked about the trials and errors, जो भी खामियां रही, the merits and demerits, वो भी उसने बताई. And at the same time, he realized that Umberto Eco was right at his stand, okay, and he then published his dissertation, okay, that clearly indicated that he appreciated his dissertation a lot, okay. At that point, at the age of 22, I understood scholarly books should be written the way I had done, by telling a story of the research. So he said at the age of 22, he understood how scholarly books should be written, okay. Therefore this is why his essays always have a narrative aspect. What means, in his essays he always try to narrate a story, he always try to adopt a narrative aspect. कुछ भी अगर कहता था तो उसको समझाने की और नरेट करने की कोशिश करता था वो उसमें, ठीक है. एंड दैट इज़ वाई प्रोबेबली आई स्टार्टेड राइटिंग narratives stand for novels so late at the age of 50, more or less. And then at the age of 50 he decided to write novels using narratives. Okay, clear. I remember that my dear friend Roland Barthes was always frustrated that he was an essayist, not a novelist, and he wanted to do creative writing one day or another, but he died before he could do so. I never felt this kind of frustration. Okay, clear. So here Umberto Eco recalled one of his dear friends, Roland Barthes. He was quite a frustrated man. Okay, he considered him an essayist, not a novelist. So he wanted him to do creative writing. Okay, clear. But and even he himself wanted to write something creative, but on one day or another day, but he failed because before he could do so, means he died, वो मर गया वो काम करने से पहले. I never felt this kind of means Umberto never felt this kind of frustration. Okay, I started writing novel by accident. I nothing to do one day. I have nothing. I had nothing to do one day, and so I started. Okay, so to be very frank, he told Mukund Padmanabhan that he became a novelist not by choice but by accident. Okay, one day he had nothing to do else, so he started writing a novel. Novels probably satisfied my taste for narration, and novels के लिए for novels he had a soft corner in his heart because they probably satisfied, contented his taste for narration. Okay. Mukund says, talking about novels, from being a famous academic, you went on to becoming spectacularly famous after the publication of The Name of the Rose. You have written five novels against many more scholarly works of non-fiction, at least more than 20 of them. Okay, so Umberto Eco corrects him, saying over 40. So, to change the taste of his question, Mukund Padmanabhan uh, started talking about his novels, okay, and he started saying that by saying that Umberto Eco, being famous for academics, okay, went on becoming a marvelously famous after publication of the name of the rose. Okay, and even he reminded that he has written five novels against many more scholarly works of non-fiction, at least more than 20. So Umberto Eco corrects him that he has written over 40 before it. Okay, over 40. Mukund Padmanabh corrects him. Among them, uh, a seminal piece of work on semiotics. But ask most people about Umberto Eco, and they will say, "Oh, he is the novelist." Does that bother you? After uh, this long statement, he asked a direct question to he asked a direct question uh, to Umberto Eco if he bothered when his reader calls him a novelist rather than a non-fictional writer. Umberto Eco says yes, because I consider myself a university professor who writes novels on Sundays. Means he bothers if his readers calls him a novelist because writing novels for him is a time pass, is something that he does in part time, uh, especially on Sunday. Okay, clear. And it is not a joke. uh, I participate in academic conferences and not meetings of pen clubs and writers. I identify myself with the academic community. But okay, if they means most people, have read only the novels. Okay, I know that by writing novels, I reach a larger audience. I cannot expect to have 1 million readers with stuffs on semiotics. Okay, Umberto Eco is quite aware of the fact that most people know him chiefly as a novelist. Okay, this popular views upsets him. In fact, he considers himself a university professor who writes novels on Sundays. He attends academic conferences, but he admits that he never attends the meetings of pen clubs and writers. Okay, uh, or the novelists. Okay, clear. But he admits that his novels have helped him reach a larger audience, says uh, 1 million. Okay, and he uh, does knew it very well that he could not expect to have 1 million leaders with the stuff on स्टडी ऑफ साइंस कि सिग्नेचर की जो स्टडी सीमियोटिक्स है उसके ऊपर लिखने की जो बात करेगा ऐसे नॉन फिक्शनल उसके ऊपर ही कुड नॉट इवन एक्सपेक्ट हैविंग more than having more readers than he had uh, when he wrote novels, than he had of those who uh, read his novels. Which brings me to my question. The Name of the Rose is a very serious novel. Okay, it is a detective yarn at one level, but it also uh, delves into metaphysics, theology, and medieval history. Yet it enjoyed a huge mass audience. Were you puzzled at all by this? Okay. Mukund wants to know why Eco's novel, The Name of the Rose, a very serious novel, a detective story, spy की story है जासूसी वाली, with inputs of history and theology, okay, has become so widely popular. Okay, okay. He wants to know the reason why it has become so widely popular. Okay, clear. And even people enjoyed it. And okay, and then he asked if he was puzzled confused at all by this? Umberto Eco says, no, journalists are puzzled. बोले मैं puzzled नहीं, जर्नलिस्ट पत्रकार है ना वो puzzled है, confused है, and sometimes publishers. And this is because journalists and publishers believe that people like trash and don't like difficult reading experiences. Means Amartiko says that this fact never puzzled him. He disagrees on the view that the masses read only cheap, trash, rubbish, बेकारी चीज़ें लोग पढ़ना पसंद करते हैं, and not the serious work. Okay, clear? Consider there are 6 billion people on this planet. Okay, the name of the rose sold between 10 and 15 million copies. So in a way I reached only a small percentage uh, of readers. So clear? He said कि uh, with the publication of name of the rose, okay, the name of the rose, he had accessed to the uh, to a small percentage of people. Okay, clear? Clear? But it is exactly these kinds of readers who don't want easy experiences, लेकिन चाहे थोड़े हों, but all the readers who liked his book, okay, they all wanted easy experiences. Okay, or it or at least don't always want this, और शायद इसीलिए वो चाहते भी ना हो इसको करने का. ठीक है, and want to see either Miami Vice or Emergency Room. Okay, and I enjoy it and I need it. Okay, clear? And I enjoy it and I need it, but not all day. Clear? So his novel sold nearly 1 crore copies. Okay, he exactly this kind of serious readers. It is exactly this kind of readers who don't want to read cheap stuffs, जो घटिया stuff पढ़ना पसंद नहीं करते हैं, तो ऐसे कम ही लोग थे. Eco himself watches crime stories on television at 9 p.m. after dinner, but he won't watch such stuffs all the day. लेकिन ऐसे stuff को वो डेली पूरे दिन नहीं देख सकता था. ओके, क्लियर? तो कह रहा है कि people wanted to have some serious reading experience. That's why he received so much popularity after the publication of The Name of the Rose. Mukund. Could the huge success of the novel have anything to do with the fact that it dealt with a period of medieval history that? Okay, so Mukund Padmanabhan asked if the success of the huge success of the novel, okay, had any relation with the fact that this novel got popularized just because he had an element or that it dealt with the period of medieval history, कि मध्यकालीन इतिहास के बारे में ये बताता है, इसलिए इसको ज़्यादा प्रसिद्धि मिली. That's possible, but let me tell you another story, because I often tell stories like Chinese wise men. Okay, तो he said कि हो सकता है ऐसा, क्योंकि चलो इसके बारे में कहानी सुनाता हूँ. इको बोला, okay, because he consider himself a Chinese wise man who always keeps on telling stories. My American publisher said, while she loved my book, she didn't expect to sell more than 3,000 copies in a country where nobody has seen a cathedral or studies Latin. So I was given an advance for 3,000 copies, but in the end it sold 2 or 3 million in the US. बोले कहानी सुनाता हूँ क्या, मतलब उसकी जो अमेरिकन जो पब्लिशर थी ना, उसने कहा कि शी लव्ड हिज राइटिंग, but she did not expect to sell more than 3,000 copies in a country, एक ऐसे देश में where people are not habitual to go to cathedral or church or to study Latin, जो लेटिन नहीं पढ़ते, जो क्या बोलते हैं, चर्च वगैरह नहीं जाते, ऐसे उसमें सीरियस रीडिंग के इस नॉवल की 3,000 तक कॉपियाँ नहीं बिकेंगी. सो शी गेव हिम एन एडवांस फॉर 3,000 कॉपीज, बट एट द एंड अकेले यूएस में इट सोल्ड 2 to 3 मिलियन, 30 लाख तक कॉपीज़ वहाँ पर बिकी हैं. ओके, क्लियर. अकेले यूएस में a lot of books have been written about the medieval past before mine. I think the success of the book is a mystery. Nobody can predict. I think if I had written the name of the rose 10 years earlier or 10 years later, okay, it would won't have uh, been the same. Okay, why it worked at that time is a mystery. Eco admits that the success of the name of the rose has something to do with the fact that it deals with a period of medieval history. Okay, clear. uh, and even he admits that the success of his novel is a mystery to him as well. But he thinks that it would not have been so very popular if he had written uh, that very novel 10 years earlier or 10 years later. You see, the most important time is the present. Okay, when your present is good, your future will be always good. Okay, students. So let us try to uh, go through the question and answer of this part. So the first question is, do you think Umberto Eco likes being interviewed? Give reasons for your opinion. Yes, Umberto Eco seems to enjoy and loves to give an interview. He talks freely and frankly about his literary life, works and secrets. So on this base we can say on this basis we can say he likes being interviewed. How does Eco find the time to write so much? Eco says he is almost always doing the same thing, writing about non-violence and peace. So he has no problem in writing on so many topics. Okay. Above all, he fills the empty spaces in his life with planning and writing an article. Okay. He uses his empty spaces. Okay. Clear. He uses even narrative style. He writes novels on Sundays. Okay. What was distinctive about Eco's academic writing styles? Okay, the distinctive feature of Eco's academic writing was his narrative styles. Okay, uh, this is why he started writing novels. His scholarly work also has a playful, informal style. It is never boring. Okay. Did Umberto Eco consider himself a novelist first or an academic scholar? Eco considered himself an academic scholar first. He has written only 5 novels against 60 works of non-fiction. He considers himself a university professor who writes novels on Sundays. He attends academic conferences, not pen club meetings. Okay. Last, why is the reason for the huge success of the novel The Name of the Rose? The success of the novel The Name of the Rose has puzzled publishers, journalists, and even the author himself. It deals with a period of medieval history. It nullifies the general belief that readers like to read only cheap stuff. Okay, his American publisher did not expect to sell more than 3,000 copies in US, but in the end, it sold 20 to 30 lakh copy in the US alone. Okay, so this novel would not have been so very popular. It had been written 10 years earlier, or if it had been written 10 years earlier or 10 years later. Okay, students, you will be sent a PDF containing these answers. Okay, so don't worry. Clear? Stay home, be safe and happy. Thanks for watching this video.